Chapter 133 of Shrimadbhagawata, Dissatisfaction. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The exchange was made and Yayati spent his time as he had planned to do. He drank his fill of the cup of pleasure, and all the while he did not neglect his duties as a king. Devayani was now a chastened woman, and her anger had left her. She had Yayati's love, and he was capable of pleasing her in 1,000 ways. 1,000 years passed, and the king knew that the end of his youth was drawing near. He realized that he was not yet satisfied with the pleasures which youth gave him. He spoke to Devayani about it. He said, "All these years, my queen, ever since the day I took you by the right hand and lifted you out of the well, my thoughts have been with you. I have thought of nothing else but you and the love I have for you and the pleasure I have had being with you. It is now time to think of other things. Caught in the snare called Maya, bound by the ties of love which we have for each other, I spent all my time with you and I had no time to think of the afterwards. I neglected to learn Atma Vidya. In this life of mine, I have learned one lesson. Neither gold nor grains nor cows nor women will satisfy man. So long as desire is alive in the heart of man, so long as he relishes these things, he will never be able to say enough. The desires which go by the name lust will never be assuaged by enjoyment. But, like fire which is only strengthened by the offering of ghee, which is poured into it, just as it burns more furiously, the more it is fed, even so the objects of one's desire never satisfy man, but they only serve to increase the appetite. This desire, which is the most difficult thing to give up, even when age creeps on one, is the one thing to be given up if man wants happiness, if he wants to avoid being drowned in the sea called sorrow. It has been said that the Indriyas are powerful, so powerful that they will pull even a wise man into the snare of sin. That is why the wise have said that one should not sit on the same seat with his sisters or even daughter. Such is the power of the senses that man may forget himself in the blindness of the moment. As for me, I have been pursuing this desire for 1,000 years and I am still dissatisfied. I should, therefore, try and abandon it entirely. I must set my heart on the Brahman, on the ever. I must set my heart on the Brahman, on the everlasting. Forgetting the opposites, I should wander around like a deer in the forest, bereft of the twin feelings of I and mine. Man should realize that the object of the senses are not permanent, that they threaten to destroy your soul and they lead you into the morass called samsara again and again. Man should therefore withdraw his mind from them and set it on the everlasting. Yayati went to his son Puru and returned his youth to him. With peace in his mind, he took back the old age which had once seemed a curse to him. Now he wore it willingly, since his mind had become purified. He was without any desire now, and he had no anger in his heart towards his other sons. He made Yadu rule the south, Dhruva, Dhruhu the southwest. The west was to be ruled by Turvasu and Anu. North, Puru was crowned emperor. Yayati went to the forest and wandered about. Freed of his desires, he was like a young fledgling which renounces its nest when its wings are fully grown. In course of time, Yayati reached his end. Devayani too, after the example set by him, abandoned her body after setting her mind on the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Paramastu. Chapter 134 of Shrimad Bhagavatam, Dushyanta. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Puru was considered to be one of the foremost kings of the rays of the moon. Kuru was another, and so the line is called the Paurava line or the Kaurava line. In the line of the Pauravas was born the king by name Ilila. and his son was named Dushyanta. There were other sons born to Ilila, but being the eldest son, Dushyanta was crowned as the monarch. He conquered all the kings in all the four quarters and was claimed the undisputed suzerain of the world. He was a very noble king, and during his reign, the earth enjoyed prosperity. His subjects did not know what it was to be hungry, and the word thief was not known at all. There was no sickness. Parjanya reigned during the season, and the crop was abundant. The earth was peopled with big milk giving cows. There was food in plenty for everyone, and everyone was happy. The king was beloved by all. He was a great warrior, and he was famed for his skill in archery and wielding the gada. In strength, he was like Vishnu, in glory, like the sun, like the sea in nobility, and in patience, Mother Earth was compared to him. In short, the earth was very happy when she was ruled by Dushyanta. Once, there was a slight upheaval in the villages adjoining his city. Cruel animals were reported to have entered some of the villages and hurt the cows. The news reached the king, and he set out to the forest. Surrounded by his army and full of pomp and glory, the king set out hunting. When he was passing them, the people were saying, "This is Dushyanta, who is like a tiger in his prowess. He is said to be invincible in war. Everyone stands in awe of his strength and his reputation as a great fighter." Listening to these words, which were spoken in whispers, the king, with a slight smile on his lips, went on his way to the forest. He passed the palace gardens and then the short coppices which were on the outskirts of the city. He then entered the forest, and there he spent a long time killing innumerable tigers, lions, wild boars, and wild bulls. There were elephants which crossed his path and herds of deer. One deer was very beautiful, and the king wanted to aim his arrow at this deer. He found that the animal, seeing his intention and sensing the danger that was threatening it, ran away as fast as his thin legs could carry him. The king followed the deer in his chariot. He lost count of the time, and suddenly he found himself very tired and very thirsty. Still, he followed the deer, which now entered another forest. The king also entered this forest. He found to his surprise that it was very pleasant there. The mind seemed to find peace, and there was found an all pervading tranquility. A cool breeze was blowing, and the trees, laden with flowers and fruits, seemed to be waving their branches in welcome. The place was dark with shady trees, and the music made by the birds was exceedingly sweet. The drowsy music of the bees, haunting the cluster of flowers, and the intoxicating scent of the flowers, together made the senses reel with pleasure. Every now and then the breeze would shake the trees, and there would rain on the earth a shower of flowers, and the soft carpet made by them was beautiful. The king was filled with amazement at the sight of so much beauty. Dushyanta saw a small brook running swiftly across the edge of the forest. While he was wondering how he had missed this beautiful spot during the last so many years of hunting, the king saw a cluster of hermitages nearby. He recognized the river flowing as Malini. The river embraced the ashramas as a mother would her children in her arms. Dushyanta knew that the great sage Kanva had his hermitage on the banks of the river Malini. He therefore decided that it would be impolite if he did not go to the ashrama to pay his respects to the rishi. He asked his small army, which was with him, to stay where it was. He said, "You must not proceed any further, since this is an ashrama. Remain here till I come back. I am going to the ashrama to salute the rishi." The king then removed his rich dresses and jewels. Dressed simply in a manner befitting the simplicity of the great man residing there, he proceeded towards the ashrama. He was accompanied only by the Brahmin priest, who was always by his side. The two of them walked through the place where beauty and peace were found in abundance. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamastu. Chapter 135 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Shakuntala. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In that atmosphere of peace and beauty, Dushyanta forgot all his worries as a king, and his thoughts were now bent only on seeing the rishi and taking the dust off his feet. The king went to the spot where the ashrama was located and entered it with reverence. But he found to his surprise that no one was there. The place was empty, as though it were deserted. He looked around and found no one. He stood for a while and then, raising his voice, said, "Is anyone here?" His voice was resounding and it could be heard even at a distance. While he was looking for some response to his call, the king saw a beautiful woman emerging from inside the ashrama. So swiftly did she move, he thought of a streak of lightning emerging from a thunder cloud. She was like Shri in beauty. Her snapping black eyes looked inquiringly, and when she saw the king, she was taken aback. She saw a very handsome man standing there. His chest was broad, and his eyes were long and beautiful, like the petals of a lotus. His neck was like that of a lion, and his arms were long and powerful. As for the king, he saw a young woman who was perfectly proportioned. She was as charming as the moon, and she looked like Vasanta had taken the form of a woman. So fresh and lovely was the apparition. And so they stood looking at each other for a long moment. She then rushed into the ashrama. Before he could miss her, she came back with Arghya and Padya and offered them to him, saying, "You are welcome to the ashrama." She made him take a seat and asked him to receive the hospitality of the ashrama. She then stood silent for a while. She felt his eyes on her, and very shyly she asked him, "What shall I do to please you, a guest? May I ask the reason which has prompted you to visit our ashrama? May I know who you are, where you come from?" Dushyanta said, "I am the son of Ilila, the Rajarshi. I am called Dushyanta. I have come here to pay my respects to the Rishi Kanva. I do not find him here. Can you tell me where he has gone?" "My father," said the young woman, "has gone out of the ashrama just some time back to collect fruits. If you wait for a while, he will come back and you can see him." The king sat silent while she spoke. He was captivated by her beauty, which was brightening the ashrama like a soft lamp. Her youth and her beauty were combined with a serenity which was something he had never seen before. The king spoke. "Who are you? To whom do you belong? You are the last person I expected to meet in an ashrama inhabited by those who have renounced the world. You are a lovely woman. Ever since the moment I laid my eyes on you, my mind has been carried away by your beauty. Listen to my words, please. I am a king born in the line of Puru, the famed one. I am Dushyanta, and I have fallen in love with you, you beautiful women. I am born in the line of a righteous man, and my mind can never think wrong thoughts. My mind cannot be guilty of anything sinful, and it is improbable that I should have fallen in love with a Brahmin maid, one who is the daughter of a rishi. Speak to me and assure me that you are not a Brahmin maid, that my love has been given to the right person. I am hopelessly unhappy with this burning desire for you. You should accept me and my love." The young woman spoke nothing for a moment, but there was a smile hovering on her lips. So they sat alone in the ashrama for a while. She then spoke in a soft voice. "I am the daughter of the Rishi Kanva. He is the tapasvi, a firm-minded man, and he knows all the rules of moral conduct. His fame has spread all over the world. Kanva is my father, my guru, and I am not free to do anything without his permission. It is not right that you should approach me with your proposal. Please ask my father. I am not a free woman to do as I please." Dushyanta said, "You are right about the fame of your father spreading all over the world. I am well aware of his greatness. I am also aware of the fact that he has never been known to have married. From Brahmacharya ashrama, he has reached the sannyasa stage without passing through the grahastha ashrama. The world knows this truth. How then could this have happened that you are his daughter? It seems improbable, so much so doubts enter my mind. Please clear them for me. How did it happen?" The girl smiled once again, and looking at the king and at the ground at once, not being able to look into his face, spoke in a soft voice. You are right. I am the adopted daughter of Kanva. She paused, and the king sat silent, waiting for her to go on. She then continued to talk. She said, once a rishi had come to visit my father, and he saw me. Father told him that I was his daughter. The rishi said what you have just said and asked him how I could be his daughter. My father told him about me, and I heard the truth about myself then. My father said, there was time when my friend Vishwamitra made the world and the heavens tremble with the tapas he was performing. Indra was afraid that his position as Indra was in danger because of the tapas of Vishwamitra. He therefore decided to spoil it. He summoned Menaka, the Apsara, and asked her to go near the great man and beguile him with her beauty. Menaka was afraid to go near the rishi since he was well known for his anger. But Indra assured her that she would not be cursed, and so she, accompanied by Manmata, Vasanta, and Malaya Maruta, went to the spot where Vishwamitra was. Menaka achieved what she had come for, and to them was born a daughter. When she took the child to the rishi, he was overcome with horror at his lapse. He refused even to look at Menaka or the child. As for Menaka, she did not want to get involved with the child. She returned to the heavens, leaving the child alone in the forest on the banks of the river Malini. It was a forest inhabited by lions and other wild animals. The child was lying on the grass. The Shakunta birds, which were on the trees, took pity on the child and protected it from the glare of the sun and the fury of the passing wind by surrounding the child on all sides. I went to the river early in the morning for my morning bath and the worship of the sun. In the forest, all alone, protected by the feeble birds, I saw this child. The Shakunta birds, on seeing me, said, "O Rishi, this child is the daughter of Vishwamitra, your friend." He was very angry with himself for what has happened and has gone away to the banks of the river Kaushiki to resume his penance. Penance which was disturbed, interrupted, ruined by Menaka. The mother of the child had no wish to be burdened with the child, and leaving it here, she has gone back to the heavens. You are a kind-hearted man, and you should take this child home with you and bring her up. The birds were right. I am very compassionate by nature, and the sight of the newborn child lying in the forest on the grass, protected by the Shakunta birds, was very sad. I took the child in my arms and went back to my ashrama. Since she was guarded by Shakunta birds, I have named her Shakuntala, and this is how she became my daughter. She too considers me to be her father. This was the story, said Shakuntala, told by my father to the guest, and so I know that I am the daughter of the sage Vishwamitra and Menaka, the Apsara. But as for me, I think only of Kanva as my father, and I will obey him in all my actions. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Pranamast. Chapter 136 of Shrimadbhagavatam. The king weds Shakuntala. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dushyanta was very happy since his love for this woman was not wrong. She was the daughter of a Kshatriya and she was fit to be his queen. He smiled at her and said, I am happy to know that you are the daughter of a Kshatriya. There is nothing to prevent you from becoming my wife. I will do anything you ask for me. I want you. I cannot live without you. I will give you my entire kingdom if you so desire. I cannot wait for your father to come. I am a Kshatriya and I am allowed to marry you by the Gandharva rites. It is considered the best of marriages since it has love for its foundation. Shakuntala said, in a short while, my father will return from the forest nearby. Please wait for him. I consider my father to be my God and I will accept as my husband the man to whom my father gives me. Is it not known the world over that a woman is never free? Her childhood is in the care of her father. Her youth is given to her husband, and in her old age, her son will guard a woman. Never is woman free to do what she wants to do. I will not ignore my father and accept your love. Do not say so, said Dushyanta. The great Kanva is incapable of being angry with you, if that is what is making you hesitate. The great Kanva is ever compassionate and he will not be displeased with your choice, and do not think that you will be insulting him by accepting me now. I have been told, said the maid, that Brahmins use their anger as their weapons, and these are more effective than the ordinary weapons which hurt only the body. Fire burns with its heat, the sun with his hot rays, the king with his sceptre, and the Brahmin with his anger. An angry rishi kills like Indra with his vajra. Dushyanta would not let her think for herself. Dushyanta would not let her think for herself. He said, I know all about the rishi and his kind nature. You need not fear him. As for you, you must become my wife. I am distracted by the thoughts of you, and your beauty has bewitched me. Let me tell you something. The Atman is the only kinsman one has, the only friend one has. The Atman is one's father and mother and one's everything. You can, without transgressing dharma, give yourself to me with the consent of your Atman. Marry me according to the Gandharva rites. Become mine. Shakuntala was pleased and flattered by his impatience, his commanding love, and yet she was not sure of herself or of him. She said, if, as you say, the path you have indicated is the right path, if it is really not wrong on my part to give myself to you with just the consent of my Atman, then I will accept your love. But you must promise me most solemnly that the son born to us will be crowned as monarch after you. If you promise me to do that, I will marry you. Dushyanta promised her that he would do anything she desired. Shakuntala then said, I have been told that the wise approve only of a properly performed marriage, that the world will talk well only of a properly wedded couple. This is for the benefit of the child to be born. I do not want any calumny to taint my name or that of my child. I want to be married to you properly. There are always the necessary things here in the ashrama. The Yajnashala has all the things you require for performing a marriage. Here are the vessels, here is the darbhashana, here is the rice. The glory of the child depends on the purity of the marriage. Brahmins are here and make them perform the marriage with ajya, havis, laja, and the fire. I know that you are not for it, that you do not approve of all the fuss I am making, but you should forgive me since it is dharma I want to follow. Dushyanta agreed to everything she said. He called his Brahmin friend who had accompanied him to the ashrama and said, I am getting married to this princess. Make all the preparations so that the marriage is performed in the proper manner. I do not want my son to have any slur on his name. Make it brief, but let it be a proper function. The Brahmin was only too happy to oblige. The king was soon ready for the ceremony, and soon he took the hand of the lovely women, Shakuntala, and they were proclaimed man and wife. The king spent some time with her, and then it was time for him to go. He told her, as soon as I reach the city, I will dispatch an army consisting of elephants and horses. I will send palanquins, and my kinsfolk will come to take you back to the city. Attendants will be there, and they will come for you. I have to go back in a hurry. I will also come with the entourage and take you home with me. I will also come with the entourage and take you home with me, to your home, to the city over which you will be the queen. I promise you, it will only be a short time before I come again for you. The king took her in his arms and embraced her again and again. He took her hand in his and promised to send for her soon. His smiling face was asking her to let him go. Shakuntala went round him and with tears in her eyes fell at his feet. He lifted her up and comforted her, saying, do not weep, my queen. It is only for a while that we are to be parted. I will come very soon. I swear on all the punya that I have accumulated that I will be here soon. Even as he was saying so, the king pictured in his mind's eye the coming of Kanva. Kanva is a rishi rich in tapas. I wonder what he will do to me when he hears of this act of mine. I have come here and taken his daughter without his consent and his good wishes. I am afraid. These were the thoughts that tormented Dushyanta when he left Shakuntala and went back to his city. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamast.